With Ashes of Creation being the next huge MMO on the block, there are a lot of things that are going to catch an audience's attention, such as the gameplay that leads into the end game, the people that you meet during your time gaming, and of course, the lore. Will people care though if the game isn't good? No, but we haven't even gotten into the Alpha 2 yet, so let's suspend that thought and let's think how we want to see the classes we've come to know woven into the world of Ashes of Creation. Been a little while since we did the dev discussions because, last month was pretty hot. So we're back covering the last 2 months, storytelling with archetypes and AoE Form and Function. Let's start with our first question. How would you like to see character archetypes like the Bard be integrated into Ashes of Creation's lore and storytelling to enrich world building? I think this question is a really good one. When you look at strong IPs like Star Wars, World of Warcraft, The Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter, Final Fantasy, Kingdom Hearts, etc., what do all of these pieces have in common? Correct. The fan bases are all losers. Let me just add in there, me owning the entire Lord of the Rings trilogy and having a real life Keyblade does not make me a loser, okay? I just want to clear up some misconceptions. Joking. These pieces of media all have very fleshed out worlds due to the added effect of the in-depth characters that inhabit them. I remember being 4, going to see Star Wars Episode 1, and my guy Jar Jar Binks stood out to me. I thought he was a really cool, interesting character, as well as my guy Obi freaking Wan.
What is that? Who you fighting?
Now, you might be thinking that I could be wrong in my assessment about people caring too much for characters and their personal stories that help shape the world. Okay. So why didn't the Acolyte get renewed for another season? What? Hey, I'm genuinely asking a question. Don't look at me like that. I think there were many reasons that the show didn't get the recognition it was looking for, but I think one of the main points was due to the audience not falling in love with the characters. When you stray super far from what your core audience is, it's not gonna be the easiest thing to continue to entertain that audience once you go down a different path. We could go on forever, but you understand what I'm saying. Let's use another example. Concord just dropped, and it also tripped, fell, stumbled, and any other synonym that you can think of. Literally from the very beginning, the audience was not in love with the characters. We didn't even get to the lore because no one cared, right? So ultimately, you gotta give the people what they want. Now that we've gotten that out of the way, how can Ashes of Creation learn from those mistakes and apply good characters to the world they're continuing to build? I think that Ashes of Creation is in a really good spot when it comes to this specific topic, and I say that because it's still new to many people. They can look at other successful IPs and continue to grow their brand, and the MMO community will literally give you their yearly salary for a decent MMO. I'll use myself as an example. I love the Bard so much that I created an Ashes of Creation inspired rap album, performed it on stream for the Bard showcase, and have essentially sworn my loyalty to the class even if it's bad. Alright, so can you imagine if Intrepid created a Bard named, I don't know, Jaquan Stanley, not Jaquain or Jaqueen, but Jaquan Stanley, right? Was super charismatic, very smooth, very handsome, just no one could ever be like this Bard. The Bard could one-shot bosses off of his voice alone. A Bard for other Bards to look up to. And he'd be funny, right? I would be so gassed because one, that's a great name. I just randomly came up with that name. Never heard of the name. I don't know. Kind of sounds like a professional actor though. I mean, Intrepid, maybe it's something to look into. 2, all jokes aside, it would give us something to look forward to. Let me explain. What I mean by that is, whatever class you play, you probably play for a reason. In Destiny, you're either a hunter, tank, or a warlock. The main people who represented those classes in the game were Cade the hunter, Zavala the titan, and Ikora the warlock. A few expansions back, Cade died, and although it was felt throughout the entire game, hunters took a blow that day because we want to be like Cade. Last year, Lance Reddick, a phenomenal actor, passed away. He was the voice actor for Zavala, and as you can imagine, the entire community was hurt, but our Titan commander was lost, which hurt the Titans. People like to see themselves in the characters they play. You might have weaker people in real life that enjoy tanking because that's not something they can usually experience. You might have hunters in real life that want to bring that over and become a ranger because they love that experience that much. I think if Ashes of Creation really hones in on what makes these archetypes so great and why the community loves them so much, they will easily create an environment with some crazy lore. Think of all the locations that we could have on the world map. The Rogue Blind Spot for the rogues that decided to branch off and create the Thieves Guild. Summoner's Paradise, and it's a spot for a ton of undead or specific different types of mobs to spawn. The Fighter's Graveyard, and it's a bunch of fighters using that stupid God Mode move and they destroy each other there. Think of the lore and storytelling that would come along with this. It would also enrich the world building and it would give a deeper meaning to certain locations, which I'm sure Intrepid wants. Look, all I'm saying is these are some solid ideas. Steven, just hit your boy off with 80% of whatever Ashes of Creation makes. That number doesn't work for you? I mean, okay, let's do 82%. Imagine if these wild fights broke out in these locations and we find out why certain abilities are constructed the way they are. We could get a lore drop or even specific cutscenes on why the fighter has certain AoE moves. I probably wouldn't take it this far, but even when it comes to the questions that are being asked about AoE moves and our thoughts on them, that all could be integrated into lore. Personally though, my thoughts are I think AoE abilities that we do get and see should be balanced for all. Ashes of Creation is going to have a ton of PvP, so I think focusing on how players are going to interact with each other using AoE abilities is going to be huge. Everyone is always talking about combat and how it can make or break a game, so I wouldn't want this to be a system that deters people away from playing. I think players on the receiving end should be able to see what's coming their way to an extent, but not so much that it'll alter the PvP experience. I do believe that it'd look cleaner without it, but maybe it's something we can test during Alpha 2 because I believe that this is something where you're actually better off seeing a before and after. So we're not entirely sure what we're going to be seeing later this month. We know it has to do with Alpha 2 and the launch, but there's nothing 100% confirmed yet. I mean, it might be the last one before we get Alpha 2, right? Because Alpha 2 is launching October 25th, so I'm sure they're gonna make it a banger. All right, few questions for y'all here. 1, what are you playing while you're waiting for Alpha 2? 2, what do you want to see with your class in terms of the story integrated into the lore? And then 3, what are your thoughts on AoE abilities and in terms of how they're seen in the overworld? Please let your man know in the comment section below. I gotta beat Xenoblade 2. I haven't touched that game in a hot minute. Anyway, if you haven't created an Ashes of Creation account yet, feel free to use my link in the description. If you're looking for a community to join, feel free to hop in my community Discord, or if you're looking for a guild, come out and rock out with Memorandum, all right? If you want to stay up to date with me, feel free to follow me on X and Twitch, where I stream every Friday night at 7 p.m. Eastern time, and I stream the live monthly updates, all right? I'll talk to you guys soon. Take care.